We do have a couple. Madam Clerk, you got a couple points of personal privilege. Can we go to those before we call them to order? But we do. Good, sir. Turn around. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this morning version of the Augusta Richmond County Commission. I'm going to use this a minute or two of personal privilege before I turn it over to my colleague from the second to welcome the Alleluia Community High School to this early version of the Augusta Richmond County Commission. Can you stand up? Let us recognize you. Good morning. Guys, we've got a bunch of high schools in the house. Thank you guys so much for being here, seeing your government at work. I see another personal friend, Bishop Rosa Williams. Always great to see you in the house. Thank you so much, madam. And with that, I yield to my colleague from the 2nd Commission District, Commissioner Stacy Pulliam.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I would like to take this opportunity to announce a huge win for Augusta, Georgia through the GIC application. Thank you so much to our administrator's office, to Housing and Community Development, Director Welcher, for our IT department, as well as Planning and Development. All of these individuals and departments were just, you know, they did amazing things in a short amount of time. And so with GIC, it's going to set us up as a city for revitalization and housing. It's going to give us access to technical assistance. It's just a great program. It's going to lay out that blueprint for what we want to do in areas to provide a much needed housing. So thank you so much for everything that you did. And Augusta's a winner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Madam Clerk, call this meeting to order.
Good morning. At this time, we will ask Reverend Thurman Norval Jr., pastor of the St. James United Methodist Church, who will give our invocation today. And we would like to ask our honored guests, the class from the Alleluia community, if you will please stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
May we slowly center our minds and our hearts on what God has called us to do here this day. May our cares and our weariness be set aside and fall away. And let the hurriedness of time be set aside. As we come together, may we be in unity and solely focused on doing the will of God for God's people. And now, O God, rule and make of all things, Judge of all humanity, we humbly gather in these chambers to carry out this day, and as always, your will for your people. And first and foremost, O God, as we come together to conduct the business of this county, may all present in these proceedings an acknowledgement that you are God. Let us all acknowledge your omnipotent power and omnipresence, for you are God, holy and almighty. And all authority and power ultimately lies in your hands, not the hands of a human. May all people coming before this governmental body this day, seeking to be heard and conduct business, do so with honorable intentions. And Father, we pray they come with no malice of heart, no self-interest, or selfish desires. Father, may those elected to hear the pleas of these people this day and who seek to govern, Garnett Johnson, Jordan Johnson, Tony Lewis, Stacy Pullum, Sean Frampton, Catherine McKnight, Brandon Garrett, Alvin Mason, Francine Scott, Bobby Williams, and Wayne Guilfoyle. Be reminded it is only through your divine providence and will that they have been placed in a position to serve your people and their constituents. May these elected officials be cognizant that their delegated powers come from you for the sole purpose of making decisions which protect, defend, and serve the welfare of your people in Richmond County. Father, may they seek your wisdom and guidance in their decisions, in all debate, in decisions, discussions, and votes. May all they do in serving the people be done with due diligence. May their choices be made with equity and justice for all, not just for some. And may their choices reflect not their own selfish desires, but the best interest and welfare of the people. Bestow upon these people your will, O Lord. And Father, we would be remiss on this day as citizens and elected officials if we did not take a moment to give thanks for the freedom that we enjoy and the right to gather and discuss the governmental affairs of this county without fear and retribution. We give thanks for the democracy in which we live, while recognizing there is still much work to do in making all citizens to be heard and feel inclusive in this county, in this city, and in our great land. And Father, this day, in this time and in this place, we lift to you those in the Ukraine, the Middle East, and in other lands who are being oppressed, who are being held hostage, and even killed by the evil forces of hate, bigotry, and parasitic religious ideology. We pray for and hold in our hearts all who are suffering and in pain. And we pray for peace for all people in all lands. Oh God, be with us now as we do the business you have called us to do. For Father, it is in the name of Jesus, your Son, that this servant offers his prayer and lifts up these proceedings and these people whom you need to have guidance and direction for. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Norval, don't go.
Would you please come forward, please? Just stand right here. Reverend Norval, the Augusta Commission would like to thank you for coming and invoking God's presence and the fact that God ordained government. So we're under his hand. And for our meeting place, we would like to express our thankfulness to you who felt it not troublesome, inconvenience to come and pray for us with such a heartwarming and a gratifying prayer. Thank you for your prayer for wisdom, unity, and divine protection. We receive your thoughtfulness as an act of service for God. May he bless you with peace and love for your kindness shown toward us today. Thank you. By these presents be it known that Reverend Thurman Norval, Jr., pastor of the St. James United Methodist Church, is chaplain of the day. May his spiritual guidance and civic leadership serve as an example for all citizens of Augusta. Given under my hand this 17th day of October, 2023, Garnett L. Johnson, Mayor. On behalf, we would like to honor you as being here on one of our first visits and not our last. To honor you with an Augusta pin today. Thank you so very much.
Reverend Norval, thank you so much for that
Thank y'all
heartwarming
for
prayer.
serving.
Yes, sir. Madam Clerk, let's continue.
Call your attention to the recognition portion of our agenda, which will be presented today by Director Anita Ruckert. The Augusta Commission would like to offer its congratulations to our 2023 September Years of Service recipients, 25 through 50-year recipients. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor Johnson, Commissioners. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning, Mayor Johnson, Commissioners, Interim Administrator, special guests, and citizens of Augusta. You can hear me? Not much? The mic may not be working.
Let's see if this one works.
I believe.
Again, I said, good morning, Mayor Johnson, Commissioners, Administrator, citizens of Augusta. Welcome, and it gives HR great pleasure to recognize our September Years of Service recipients. For the month of September, we have 30 employees celebrating 5 to 50 years of service with Augusta. This morning, we'd like to recognize our 25 to 50 years of service recipients. For the month of September, the total years of service and institutional knowledge being celebrated today is 510 years. Yeah. When I call your name, please come forward. Roy Searless. I'm sorry, Roy. Central Services, 25 years of service. Christina Lawson, Utilities, 25 years. Xavier Brown, Utilities, 25 years. David Milford, the Sheriff's Office, 25 years. Kathy Gerwith, Sheriff's Office, 25 years. Tanya Mason, Parks and Recs, 30 years.
Folks right here, y'all.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Well, there's another twin, Raymond.
Another one? Twin? One twin. There she is.
Finally, Mr. Donald Williams, Utilities, 45 years. it. Congratulations once again to our September Years of Service recipients.
Congratulations again to all of those that were recognized. I love this morning energy. This is amazing. Thank you guys for your commitment to the city, and it's much appreciated. Before we move forward, Madam Clerk, the commissioner from the 5th was delayed for a few minutes, and I yield the chair to Commissioner Bobby Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't delayed, I was late. We just want to take a minute to recognize our visitors in the back. We've got the high school, I think the high school from Alleluia High School on Peach Orchard Road, which is part of the 5th district now. And we have Ms. Francine Scott, who is the super district person. Will you guys please stand to be recognized for us, the Alleluia High School folks? Mr. Mayor, could we have 30 seconds for somebody to come up and tell us what is the purpose of their visit this morning?
Yes, sir, we certainly can. Is there a class representative you guys want to come up and talk?
Leaders lead.
Leaders lead.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Come on up. There you go. All right, sir. I think we're on the official record, so if you just come right at that podium right there, you got to state your name and address for the official record, and you got about, as the commissioner said, about 30, 40 seconds.
My name is Dennis McBride. Reside at 2307 Getson Street in Augusta, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Williams, good to see you this morning.
Good to see you.
And so this is part of our process this year on civic engagement. We have leaders coming in and speaking to the school. Dan Funch, our former principal, many of you may know, attends a lot of the commission meetings. He'll be late this morning as well. He had a previous engagement. And so he's come in and explained the commission process to the students a couple times. Mr. Williams came in and did some of the same, shared some great personal stories as well. And we're here just to learn. We want to see how our local government works and so that we can support it better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you, students, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And guys, before you leave, Ms. Bonner, we have some refreshments for them.
Yes, sir, in room 291.
Room 291, whenever you guys decide that you want to leave, give us about 10 minutes, go by room 291. We've got some refreshments for you. Thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner from the 5th. Madam Clerk, I think that leads to our delegation portion of this meeting. Let's continue.
Okay. Our first delegation is item number B, the Greater Augusta Council regarding public art update, gateway sculpture at Savannah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Item B, Donna Settlers regarding the Daughters of the Confederacy Rock at Tubman Home Road. Ms. Sellers?
Ms. Sellers, are you present? Good morning, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here. If you will, for the record, please state your name and address.
My name is Donna Sellers. I live at 215 Sycamore Lane in Blythe.
Thank you, ma'am. You have 5 minutes.
I have some photographs if
All
you
right.
would all like to see those. Okay. In my letter to the mayor and several other folks, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. I asked that this particular rock, and there's another one at the corner of Highway 88 and Highway 1 in Blythe, that states that the road is called the Jefferson Davis Highway, and it was put there in 1930 by the Daughters of the Confederacy. And I'd like to see that the state and the city and the county ask for the ladies of the Confederacy to take the rocks back, or that at least those things are not being upkept, grass cuttings and mowings around it, because it's not correct and it's just wrong. And I'd like to see that it could come down.
All right. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
See, all right. I have a colleague in the queue, Commissioner from the 8th. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess the first question that we need answered, are these rocks on public or private land?
I don't know.
Because looking at this picture, it looks like it's behind the right-of-way, so that looks like it's private property.
Well, there is, let me see what is, the Light of the World Evangelistic Outreach Ministry is right behind that. And I asked a young man who was there at the property, I said, who owns this piece of land? And he said the county and the city do. So if the county and the city own it, then you guys are responsible for taking it away. Correct?
All right. I don't.
Madam Administrator, is this something that you could look into on, see whose property this belongs to?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner from the 8th.
The address for the Life of the World Evangelistic Outreach Ministry building is at 2340 Milledgeville Road. And the other rock that's in Blythe is a little island in between Highway 88 and Highway 1, where the stop sign is there, and there are signs that say Highway 1 South and North, and Highway 4, it's the Georgia Highway, and 504 East and West.
All right.
It looks like public county property.
All right, ma'am, I got another colleague in the queue. The chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Sellers, have you reached out to anybody with the Daughters of the Confederacy?
No,
Okay, so you came before
Nor
us
do I plan
without
to.
going, I'm sorry?
I don't plan to. I think that's probably county property or city property, and it doesn't belong to the city of Blythe, so it must belong to the county.
The marker that's in Blythe, have you gone before the commission there?
No, because it's county property. It's not in the city limits of Blythe.
Right. The one in Blythe, right there on Dean's Bridge and 88 is where you're talking about?
Right, there's a connector between Highway 1 and Highway 88 where
Right
the
there in
truckers
front of
come
Max
through.
Store?
Yes.
Right, that should be GDOT if I'm correct. All right, so we'll put this in our administrator's hands and see where it goes. But
And
as
the
far
one in Blythe is between two little bushes.
I live in the city limits of Hitsby. I'm very
Okay, all
familiar
right.
with Blythe.
And those big trucks that come in with the log trucks or whatever could just accidentally run it over.
It hasn't happened in how many years?
I know, but it could,
I'm
and it
not
could be a
good in the
danger
what
to
ifs,
somebody,
but-
some other car that doesn't know that, if they're going a little farther over the curb, they think you're just hitting a bush, but they're hitting a big rock.
We thank you for coming before us, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Sellers, thank you so much for being here. Have a great day.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's continue.
Our next delegation, Mr. Moses Todd, I Love Augusta, regarding jail pod revenue bond, water park, SPLOST 8 good and welfare of Augusta, Richmond County.
Moses Todd, are you in the house? I just want to make sure he's not sitting outside. Madam Clerk, I don't see him. Let's move forward. I think that moves us to the consent agenda portion of our meeting.
For the benefit of any objectors to our planning petitions, I call your attention to item number 3, moving through item number 9, and if there are any objectors, would you please signify your objection once the petition is read? Item number 2 is a request to approve with conditions a rezoning from a Zone P1 professional office to a Zone B1 neighborhood business affecting property located at 2321 Washington Road. Item number 3 is a request for a rezoning from a Zone 1B, 1 family residential to a zone R2, 2 family residential, affecting property located at 2005 Grand Boulevard. Item number 4 is a request for rezoning to remove conditions 4 of an R3B zoning adopted with the zoning application affecting property located at 266 Reservation Way. Item number 5 is a request for rezoning from a zone R1D, 1 family residential, and an R3C, multiple family residential, to a zone R1E, 1 family residential, affecting property located at 4200 Valencia Lane. Item number 6 is a request to amend condition 14 of the R1E zoning, adopting and rezoning application to reduce open space, green space requirement affecting property located at 1241 and 1299A Brown Road. Item number 7 is a request of rezoning from a Zone A agriculture and a Zone B2 general business to a Zone B2 general business affecting property at 2635 Perimeter Parkway. Item number 8 is a request for a special exception affecting property located at 3107 Deansbridge Road, Zone B1 neighborhood business. Item number 9 is a request for a special exception to establish a liquor store on property located at 2177 Broad Street. Are there any objectors to any of the zoning petitions?
All right, I see one objector.
Okay. And can you tell us which number that is, sir? Number 3.
As an objector, number 3.
And I think we had one came up earlier, number 8. Will you please? Okay.
All right, that's an objector to number 8. Are there any other objectors?
Objectors.
All right, sir,
to the
stand up.
planning petitions.
And number 9.
We have one for number 9. Okay.
3, 8, and 9. Any other objectors present? Madam Clerk, I don't see any further.
All right. Call your attention to the public service portion of our agenda. If there are any objectors to any of our alcohol petitions, would you please signify your objections by raising your hand once the petition is read? We call your attention to item number 10. It's a request for an on-premise consumption liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in connections with the location at 804 Cabela Drive. Item number 11 is a request for a retail package liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in connection with Harrison Liquors located at 1889 Gordon Highway. Item number 12 is a request for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connections with the location at 1801 Griffin Road. Item number 13 is a request for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 3995 Old Waynesboro Road. Item number 14 is a request for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 2579 Tobacco Road. Item number 15 is a request for a retail package beer and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 840 Stevens Creek Road. Item number 16 is a request for a liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in connection with the Thunder Road Bar and Grill located at 2260 Wheelers Road. Are there any objectors to any of our alcohol petitions?
Are there any objectors? Madam Clerk, seeing none.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 42, with objectors for item number 3, number 8, and number 9.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, we're going to go through this queue here. I see you coming. Yes, sir. I got to go. I got to start with Commissioner from the 7th first. All right? Got to go in order. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Sean Franklin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull agenda item number 8, please.
All right, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you. The other two that have objectors, those are automatically pulled, correct, Ms. Bonner? No.
We will.
Okay.
Will you?
Well, I think we need to pull items number 3 and 9, as well as 5.
Number 3, number 9, and 5.
Okay. All right. Commissioner from the 5th, floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I need to look at, he's already pulled 8. Let me look at number 5, pull 5. Excuse me, not 5, but 4.
4?
Yeah,
Okay.
You gonna pull 4?
yeah.
All right. Pull 4. All right. Commissioner Williams, Chair recognizes. Commissioner Williams, you still in or you're out?
I'm good.
You're good. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Franklin.
Motion to approve as stated, those that are pulled.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no other colleagues in the queue for discussion, Madam Clerk, let's vote.
Ms. Williams? Ms. Johnson and Mr. Guilfoyle Johnson? Okay, you got it? Okay. It's unanimous.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's go top to bottom.
Okay. Item number 3 is a request for concurrence with the Planning Commission to deny a petition by Jonathan Thomas on behalf of Demore Properties LLC requesting a rezoning from a zone R1B 1 family residential to a zone R2 2 family residential affecting property located at 2005 Grand Boulevard.
All right, who else is that to be pulled here?
Yeah, we had an objector you want to hear
Oh,
from.
yeah, we got a reject. Okay, all right. We got it.
Got a couple here, so give you a second, please, to get situated.
Take your time, madam.
All right.
We got all day.
All right. Here we go. So, on Monday, October 2nd, case number Z-23-41, applicant Jonathan Thomas requested a rezoning to allow for a duplex at 2005 Grand Boulevard. This particular petition involved a .2 acre tract located at 2005 Grand Boulevard. The property is currently occupied by a 2,288 square foot residence constructed in 1896 based on the Richmond County Tax Assessor records. The home maintains an approximately 5-foot and 0-foot building line along the north and south side property boundaries. It measures approximately 53 feet from Grand Boulevard and 50 feet from the rear boundary. The applicant seeks to rezone the property, which will enable the home to be converted into a duplex. The plan does not include any additional improvements to the residential lot. The Planning and Development Department had several findings, and the Planning Commission also had some concerns about the application. Just to highlight those really quickly, the applicant is requesting to be rezoned to the R2, but the proposed plan is not consistent with the R2 zoning. He cannot meet the width of the lot requirements. The 2 acres of such property exceeds the minimum lot size requirement of 5,000 square feet. However, it does not meet the minimum lot width of 45 feet. There are isolated instances of 2-family residential development in the surrounding area. However, this is not consistent with the comprehensive plan. And so for those reasons, the Planning Commission and staff recommended denial of this application, rezoning application, and to convert the existing home into a duplex because it is not compatible with the surrounding patterns and it is inconsistent with the 2018 comprehensive plan, and it does not meet the requirements for the requested zoning. I can field any questions.
Thank you. Any colleagues in the queue before we pull up the objector? Yes, sir. All right, there you go. All right, Commissioner Garrett.
I'd like to hear from the applicant who wanted to speak towards this.
All right, is there an applicant here?
Give your name and address into the
He's the
microphone.
objector. He's the objector.
Oh,
We need the
you're-
applicant.
Well, yeah, so are you objecting to it being approved or denied?
Denied.
So you want it approved? Okay.
Oh, so, okay. Come on up, you're the applicant, come on up,
Name
sir.
and address.
Name and address for the record, sir.
Name is Jonathan Thomas, speaking for 2005 Grand Boulevard in Augusta, Georgia.
Is that your home address?
My home address is 3032 Stallion Ridge, Graniteville, South Carolina.
Thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner Garrett, the floor is yours, sir.
Sir, if you'd like to state why you want this approved?
So when looking at the property and the surrounding properties, it's the square footage of it is a lot larger than any of the other single-family homes in the area. So to work better with that layout, we were looking into making that a duplex versus a single-family home. There were issues that or questions that arose about the parking situation. When going back and speaking with our general contractor, there's about 36 feet that we have to work with in the front yard. I have a sketch that we worked up. And a lot of times looking at the standard parking lot sizes in different commercial areas, 8 feet was the width that was suggested. With that 36 feet, we would be able to allow for 4 parking spaces in that front yard area that's divided by a sidewalk that leads up to the home, which would give us 4 parking spaces there. And then there were other questions about parking on the street, not that that would be a requirement because of the amount of people that would live there. But there were instances where we saw in that community where there may have been 1, maybe 2 cars parked on the street that were, living in the houses around. I do have a sketch. Should I put it on the projector? Did you want to see that?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry. Could you flip it, please? Is that possible? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I have to zoom in to make it darker.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. So there would be the entryway there on your right. You would come in, and then over to the left, where it's kind of the hash marks, is where we would potentially lay crush and run to, mark out where the parking areas would be around that tree. So there's 1, 2, 3, and there's a 4th one above that you can see once it's zoomed out. So parking, whether we do convert it to a duplex or it stays as a single-family home, the 2,300 square feet is going to be at least 5 bedrooms in that property. So whether it'll be 5 bedrooms as a single family or 5 bedrooms as a duplex, it would still be the same amount of parking that would be needed for that area. There were also questions about the separation of the space. Also talking to the general contractor, everything will be done according to code. There'll be firewalls separating the 2 units, separate entries for each. And then there is a pathway along the side of the property. Approximately, sometimes it gets as close as 4, but most of it is a wide 7-foot area of walking space that has access to a grassed-in backyard. That'll be fenced in, and if someone had, issues with someone wanting to have kids or playing around, they wouldn't be on the front of the street. There's areas in the back of the property for them to do that as well. I think that kind of addressed some of the issues that came up during the last meeting that we had. And I think that would probably sum up that right there. If you have any more questions.
Yes, sir. I have a colleague in the queue. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 4th, Commissioner Allen Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Is that
Yes,
you?
sir.
Okay. First of all, appreciate you wanting to invest in Augusta, Georgia. That's number one.
Hometown.
But when you put this together, you understood the findings that our planning department found?
Yes, for the majority standpoint, what I understood was without, going real deep into the findings of it, they said that the lot width is normally, the requirement was 50 feet, and ours is 45 feet. So that was kind of the, the limiting factor of the approval or denial before they reached that.
Okay, so there's actually, as our planning director mentioned, there's actually about 12 findings.
Okay.
And it's important that you understand that there's requirements that you have to meet when you're talking about doing development.
Yes, sir.
And so what I would ask you to do is to, one, look at those 12 findings and see if it's possible for you to continue what you're doing, or if you're able to correct the findings so that you'll be in compliance, because otherwise what we're saying is you're out of compliance, and that would cause us to do an exception, if you will, like an exception to policy. And then we're opening up the door for God and country to come on in and do whatever. Well, God can, but country can't. At the end of the day, we just really have to make sure that we're in compliance. We're in compliance, or you may have to look at doing another project that works for the area, because there is a comprehensive plan, and I don't know if you know that or know of that plan, and you have to fit within the plan of that particular area, right?
Yeah.
So if you would look at those 12 findings, work those out, talk with the planning department, and then I think you'll find an answer whether that's something that you would be able to do without requesting the exception to policy that would perhaps be denied, because we don't want to open up a new can of worms. So that would be my recommendation, Mr. Mayor, that he gets with planning and zoning to address this particular issue and see what it is that he can do. And again, I'm proud of the fact that you're investing in Augusta, Richmond County, and that's a good thing. But we do want to make sure it's in order so that everything can roll smoothly. I would make a motion then to receive this as information at this time, and for our planning director to have that discussion about the findings, if that's appropriate.
Certainly, thank you so much, Commissioner Mason. There's a couple of the colleagues in the queue. I have a motion. Let's see if I can get a second first before we can let these folks talk.
Mr. Mayor, I want to clarify this motion.
All right.
I mean, the motion.
Please
I want to make a motion to send this back to the planning commission.
All right, there's a motion to send it back to the planning commission with a proper second from the commissioner from the 9th. Before we vote, there's a couple of colleagues in the queue. Commissioner from the 2nd, Commissioner Pulliam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My questions are for Director Delaney. I noticed in the findings that you said there were isolated instances of two-family residential development in the surrounding area. Are those located on the same street or street over, street near?
No, they were not in the same street, on the same street. We looked at as we traversed to the property. So, but it was isolated, meaning two. So it wasn't in close proximity, no.
Okay, so there were two other multi-units
Not
or
multi, just
duplexes.
duplexes. And then there was opposition at the meeting too. It is the neighbor immediately adjacent to this parcel. He did come and say that he felt this would have an adverse impact on his adjacent property.
Okay. My next question is, I know that, I think it was the meeting before last, we discussed, I guess we'll see that in this budget when we get to that presentation, but us looking at the comprehensive plan for you doing that, would you be addressing some of the findings that you found that led to the denial of this petition when you go back, or you have a third party go in and look at our current comprehensive plan?
Our draft comprehensive plan is actually ready. DCA has signed off on the draft, so that's going to be coming before you. So that is ready for you all to vote on. What you're talking about is the zoning ordinance or the unified code. So this is something that we are looking at, how to blend some of the duplexes and the single-family residential. What we want to be mindful of is that as you do this, you want to be considerate of the existing neighbors. And when the immediately adjacent neighbor comes out and talks about how this would potentially adversely impact him. So even when we go through the process of looking at the zoning ordinance and changing it to incorporate it, we don't want to change the fabric of our single-family neighborhoods. That's the goal, if we can help it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. So there's a motion to send this back to the Planning Commission with a proper second. Seeing no other colleagues in the queue, we're prepared to vote, Madam Clerk.
No.
Who's that? 1, 3, and 6. 3 and 6. Catherine, right down here. Who we got? Who's 6? He's gone? Commissioner Lewis stepped out.
That motion carries with Mr. Lewis out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's move to number 4.
Item number 4 is a request for concurrence with the Planning Commission to approve with conditions a petition, Hill Point LLC, requesting to remove condition 4 of the R3B zoning adopted with rezoning application affecting property located at 266 Reservation Way.
Director Delaney.
All right. Reservation Way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are
All
you,
right.
Miss, I forgot your name.
Director Delaney.
Carla Delaney.
Your name is Delaney? Okay.
Yes.
I just really have one question.
Okay.
I see on here where it says ingress and egress easement from the adjacent property. What does that mean?
Turn it to that one real quick here. Yes, okay. So on this particular one, one of the things that we look at is how a person or entity will access the property. One of the conditions that we had originally placed on it was that they had to get an easement over the existing easement, which is written permission to access the property from a different property owner. What we learned through this process, I can't see because my glasses, but what we learned through this process is that when they went back to try to negotiate to see if they could get this access, they weren't able to get it. And so what we did is they went to the fire department. We talked to everyone involved about what the access would look like for emergency services purposes. And we also talked to traffic engineering, and we determined that that one condition that required them to have that ingress egress easement wasn't needed because we were able to find an alternative safe access for emergency services if needed. And that's reflected on page 44. I'm sorry, you can't see that. I apologize.
So you don't necessarily need this anymore?
Correct. We found an alternative.
Okay. All right, I make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a
I'll second it.
All right, a second from the commission from the 3rd. Seeing no colleagues in the queue, Madam Clerk, we're voting.
Ms. Lewis still out? Okay. That motion carries with Mr. Lewis out.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's continue.
Next, item number 5 is a request for concurrence to approve with conditions a rezoning from a zone R1D1 family residential and a zone R3C multiple family residential to a zone R1E1 family residential affecting property at 4200 Valencia Lane.
All right, who pulled? A commissioner from the 8th. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. In regards to this petition, I've received numerous calls in regards to the surrounding neighborhood, just asking for some clarification on how this affects their neighborhood as well as the vicinity to the townhomes that are currently adjacent to this property.
All right.
So
Director.
in this case, one of the things that we noticed is that we looked at what's going on in the area. Again, when we have new construction in particular, there is an opportunity for us to incorporate some townhomes. There's a townhome community already in place adjacent to this one. With this particular application, they actually came back with they want 77 townhomes, and they're going to do 25 feet wide lots, which is the preferred minimum width for a townhome community. In addition to that, there's a buffer that's been established that would help delineate any wetlands. They're going to do their due diligence with the Army Corps of Engineers. There's going to be 4 substantially distinct front facade designs, so we actually got them to agree to some character, so you won't go in and see everything looks exactly the same. They agreed to commit to that too. And so, and they're going to abstain from using vinyl siding. So this is the kind of thing that we're hoping our developers will voluntarily do without an ordinance. So this was in line with the kind of townhome communities that we were hoping would come our way.
All right, thank you. And I guess most of the calls that I received, it was always about traffic. So
Yes.
were there any egress conditions placed on this?
I'm looking, but traffic did weigh in, and we did not have a problem. We did talk about, in particular, some of the areas where there are, I would say, they have some challenges with water. But one of the things that we have to do, and one of the things the developer has to do, is mitigate that through the site plan process. So that will go through engineering, and engineering will take care of those issues.
Okay.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th. Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Laney, as well as the residents within Goshen, I've been receiving a lot of emails, a lot of text messages, a lot of phone calls, and especially from the neighborhood association there. There's a lot of back history on this development here. One was the concern about it being a flood zone, which actually out of 30 acres, 30.65, 16 and 17 acres of it's unusable due to wetlands. So they're going to have to overcome that. But the back history on this, this actually came from one of the residents, Fred Ogun, that texted me. If you got a second, he said that I was not available for Monday's zoning meeting. I understand turnout was subpar, but that should not be mistaken as okay from this area. We simply did not prepare enough. The villages at Goshen was allowed to build the first set of townhomes with the understanding they would build single-family units behind it. The group went belly up, and another group came in, promising to build a high-end townhomes, unlike any others. We got 9 apartment buildings with 8 units in each. Now they want more of the same. They, too, had promised the remainder of the land would be used for single-family homes and duplexes, and here we are yet for another zoning change. Residents must be on their toes to watch for the little signs on the side of the road at times, because it seems to be a reoccurring situation. It appears that they did not catch it quickly enough where they should have at that time. But the objection is that the developers didn't keep the word on it, and I'd like to make a motion to deny this.
All right, the commissioner from the 10th has put a motion to deny. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
There is a second. There's a motion and a second. All right, seeing no further colleagues in the queue, Madam Clerk, let's vote on this motion to deny. You mean to tell me I get an opportunity to vote?
Let me.
That's
Voting
feels
yes
good.
is Ms. Pulliam, Mr. Tony Lewis, Mr. Brandon Garrett, Ms. Francine Scott, and Mr. Wayne Guilfoyle. Voting no, Mr. Jordan Johnson, Ms. Catherine McKnight, Mr. Alvin Mason, Mr. Bobby Williams, and Mr. Sean Franham. Yes, sir.
I'm not going to deny any development for this county. I'm not. I don't believe in that. That this needs to move forward. I think so. I'm gonna vote in support of this project moving forward.
Okay.
So my vote is no.
You're voting no.
That's right.
Okay.
So we voted no. Can we put the original motion back up now?
There's no action.
All right. So I'm going to recognize Commissioner from the 5th. I'm hoping he's going to have a motion to move forward. Commissioner from the 5th, you have the floor, sir.
I want to make a motion to approve this item.
Right.
Second.
So there's a motion to approve from the Commissioner from the 5th, and second from the Commissioner from the 4th. I heard him chime in first.
To approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Let's go with it. We're voting, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Lewis? Okay, thank you. That motion carries 8-2 with Mr. Garrett and Mr. Guilfoyle voting no.
All right, Madam Clerk. All right. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Item number 8 is a request for a special exception to establish a liquor store located at 3107 Deansbridge Road, Zone B1 Business. This, Mr. Lane.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to go straight into the clarity portion. Section 6-2-64 states that this shall not include private schools or colleges which specialize subjects such as law, business, music, art, vocational occupations, and other special subjects that are taught. And I would like clarity from the law department on why that is not applicable here, I guess. Thank you.
All right. Attorney Brown?
Yes. Ms. Murray, come up. The problem we have here is that our code has one definition, which is based upon state law for licensing liquor stores, and then there is another standard for zoning liquor stores. This is not a licensing issue. The section that he has pointed to you is pertaining to licensing liquor stores. This is a zoning matter.
Okay.
However, we did not receive this. I did not receive that lease
That's why I want to jump in there, too.
until this morning that this particular objection has come, and this discrepancy or differences in provisions of our code. Therefore, after speaking with planning, I believe this matter should be referred back to the Planning Commission for further deliberation and reconciliation.
And I appreciate that because, I mean, it is location restrictions clearly on the screen. I don't understand why we're talking about licensing versus, I mean, it just seems like to me that we need to have more discussion on this before we vote it up or down. So motion to send it back to Planning Commission.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right, that's a motion from Commissioner from the 7th, second from Commissioner from the 8th. All right, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th. Commissioner?
No, that's exactly what I was going to do.
All right, so there's a motion to send it back. Let's see, no one else in the queue. Madam Clerk, we're voting.
Are we going to hear from, oh, he's good?
No.
He's good?
He's
Okay.
good. All right.
Okay.
Brian Kevin.
All right, yeah. Let's get to it.
Mr. Williams, Bobby Williams. All right. It's unanimous.
All right, that takes us to item number 9.
Number 9 is a request to deny a petition requesting a special exception to establish a liquor store located at 2177 Broad Street.
All right. Who's the commissioner asked the, is a colleague who asked this item be pulled? There's not. All right, Director Delaney.
All right. So in this case, we have a request and an application that was presented on October 2nd for 2177 Broad Street, Augusta, Georgia, 30904, and it is a special exception for a liquor store. The petition involves a .62 acre property located at the corner of Broad Street and Millage Road, an existing convenience store existing of 1,692 square feet, a gas canopy, and 17 off-street parking spaces. The property is situated in a B1 business zoning district. The applicant requests approval of a special exception to establish a liquor store on the property. Plans include enlarging the existing building and providing additional parking spaces at the rear of the property. Because this is a special exception request, we take into consideration especially what the surrounding uses are. The Planning Commission and the planning staff recommended denial of this special exception request as it is situated in an area of high residential density with limited commercial uses. A park is recreational area right there at Lake Olmsted is right there immediately adjacent to it. In addition to that, it is located near a public housing, and one of the things that we look at is where liquor stores are commonly located. So it is adjacent to public housing, a recreational area, and a primarily residential area. So therefore, Planning Commission and staff recommended denial of the application.
Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th. Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you. We pulled this item because there were objectors in the audience, so I'd like to hear from the objector, please.
Your name and your home address.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen of the commission, good morning to you. My name is Alex Merrill. I have actually been retained on behalf of the applicants. I misunderstood, like the first gentleman, about when we needed to object. We were objecting to the denial of the application, just to clarify. So I'm actually here to speak on behalf of the applicants.
I need your address for the record, sir.
Absolutely. My office address is 110th Street, Suite 700, Augusta, Georgia.
Thank you, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Now, we are aware that this is an application for a special exception, given that the property in question does exist within a B1 zoning district, which is a neighborhood business. And as such, we are approaching this very humbly. We understand that the county is going to have various concerns, and we want to be sensitive to those concerns. I would like to bring up a few factors for consideration that may allay some of those concerns and bring a little more consistency. In regards to, I know that we're talking about zoning, and that we were just discussing on the previous item, item 8, the distinction between the zoning versus the licensing requirements when it comes to alcohol. I would like to bring up a provision from the alcohol licensing ordinance, that being section 625, consumption at parks, playgrounds, public streets, and public areas owned and operated by Augusta. And let me just check if I got this right. Is there a way for me to explain
Yes.
my
Delaney, can you assist him, please?
All right. There we go. Now, I would like to note that according to the ordinance, it shall generally be unlawful for any person to serve, consume, or offer for purpose of consumption alcohol within public parks that are owned and operated by Augusta at any time whatsoever. And you'll note that I highlighted with the exception of Julian Smith Casino and Julian Smith Park Barbecue Pit. Now, I would like to briefly map out the area where my client's store is located. Let's see if you can see that. Now, if you'll notice over here in the map key, I just pulled this up off of Google Maps, but point A is going to be Julian Smith Casino. Point B is the 2177 Broad Street. That's the property that's owned by my client, where the proposed liquor license would go into effect. And then point C is the Julian Smith barbecue pit. Now, as we just saw from Ordinance 625, liquor and alcohol are specifically authorized to be served at the Julian Smith Casino and the Julian Smith Barbecue Pit. And let's look at the map itself in a little bigger detail. As we can see from the map, Julian Smith Casino A down there at the bottom, and then the Julian Smith Barbecue Pit C all the way up at the top, are directly adjacent to Lake Olmsted Park. As a matter of fact, the Julian Smith Casino is practically encapsulated by the park, whereas my client's store is just across the road. Now, I understand that the county has some concerns about adjacency to public recreation areas, but if the code section is actually going to specifically carve out an exception for serving and consuming liquor at not one but two locations that are practically encapsulated by Lake Olmsted Park, the proximity of my client's business to the park seems to have minimal impact. If the county has already recognized that the consumption and sale of alcohol under certain conditions and with the specific permission of the county can occur in this area without issue, the honest question I would have for the commission is, why not for my client? And my client would certainly be open to negotiation and conversation, I think, about particular hours and days of operation for the proposed liquor store. And again, we're sensitive to the concerns that the county has. I'd like to note that the location in question that they currently operate here at 2177 has actually served as a convenience store. Just a moment. So this is our 2177 Broad Street here. And you can see that it has actually served, in terms of commercial improvements, as a convenience store since 1973, 50 years. Now, my clients have not owned it that entire space. As you can see, they actually acquired it back in 2015, but they have operated it for the past 8 years. They also have an existing alcohol sale license at the location. And now that just happens to be the most current license. Talking with my clients, it looks like they've actually had a valid alcohol license in general since, I believe it's been since 2013, at least for over the past 10 years. What we're specifically talking about here is expanding the licensure to include liquor especially, in addition to the alcohol which they're already serving. Given how long the convenience store has served that location, the fact that they're already allowed to serve alcohol, and the fact that we've got not one but two county-approved locations which serve and allow the consumption of liquor specifically within Lake Olmsted Park, I think it would be entirely consistent with the county's policies to allow that.
Thank you, sir. I have a few colleagues in the queue. Chair recognizes first the Commissioner from the 6th, Commissioner Tony Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the gentleman answered most of the questions that I had in reference to the existing business now. And my question was going to be, were they going to close this business, just operate just a liquor store, or continue to operate the convenience store in conjunction with selling liquor? So it's my understanding now that you already have your client already has a license to sell beer, wine, things of that nature.
Well, if I may, and thank you, and that's a good question. It's a valid question. So they do have a license to sell beer. The wine and the liquor license is actually what we're looking to get approved on. And in terms of whether or not they're going to maintain their existing business, the answer to that is yes. If I might, I actually do have, I didn't mean to play here. This is, let's see if I can zoom this out a little bit further. There we go. It may be difficult to tell here with this resolution, but this is the proposed plan that my clients have for the property. So they, at this point, plan to maintain the existing convenience store, which is in the center. And then you can actually see at the top of this plat, there's going to be kind of 3 squares that are up behind the convenience store. 2 of those are going to be additional storage, and then the other one is actually going to be a separate, a separate liquor store that'll be, and the proposed name for it would be Queen's Wine and Liquor. And that will directly abut the store, but will actually be, it will actually still be a separate structure. So they will maintain both businesses.
And it's my understanding that additional parking spaces were going to be accommodated on this same parcel of land to accommodate the existing infrastructure and the new infrastructure that is proposed to be built. And planning and zoning, the problem planning and zoning has is that it's not big enough, or it is too close to, I'm trying to understand what planning and zoning, the denial of this particular petition here, Ms. Delaney.
So, a couple of things. When you look at this application, it is a special exception. They're not looking to rezone. You can't really see it here, so I'll read it to you. But as he stated, the Julian Smith Casino and all of the facilities owned by Richmond County, each incident, each time alcohol is served, it actually requires express written permission from the sheriff of Richmond County. So there's a level of oversight that's being skipped in the presentation that you just heard. This oversight is every single time there's alcohol served. So there's checks and balances in this. The other thing is, as a community, we know that they are grappling with poverty there. We know that this is immediately adjacent to a public housing unit. This is not a good idea. This is not ideal for the community. So what you want to take into consideration, what the Planning Commission and what the planning staff is asking you to do, is put the needs long-term of these citizens first. They have an alcohol license that allows them to sell beer. They can sell it, but in changing that to allow for a liquor store, that changes the dynamic some. So we do need to be mindful when we plan. One of the things at planning, we're looking at the community health overall.
Ms. Delaney, I hear you, and somehow I'm trying to understand the purchasing of beer. And I understand that there's a percentage of alcohol that's in beer, and as opposed to hard liquor. But I'm trying to understand what would be the difference in them being able to purchase beer at this place and not to be able to purchase liquor. I mean, all of it is alcohol. You drink enough of it, you're going to get drunk, inebriated, regardless of which one you drink. So what's the, I mean, you have a neighborhood I understand that you're concerned about. They're able to go there now within that neighborhood and purchase beer. But we don't want to allow them to be able to purchase liquor.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear when I say this, sir. The state actually delineates the difference between selling of beer and the selling of wine and liquor. The state has already acknowledged and wrote into their regulations that there is a difference between these types of alcohol. When you look at a bottle of alcohol and it talks about the proof and things of that nature. So if the state, at the state level, and alcohol, tobacco, and firearms has recognized that there's a distinction between the types of alcohol served, then we should take that into consideration too. And planning has taken that into consideration.
I hear you, Director Delaney.
In addition to that, there's the findings in the report. Under item 9, it says that liquor stores are permitted by special exception in B1 zones, provided they generally conform to the following criteria. The surrounding area is not predominantly residential, and only a few commercial users intersperse. This does not meet that requirement. It does not comply. The surrounding area where they are proposing this liquor store can't can be characterized as low to high density residential with a commercial use in the vicinity of the property. The location, the property is at the intersection of two arterial streets or within 500 feet of an intersection. It does not comply. Broad Street is identified as a minor arterial street. However, Millage Road is considered a minor or local road. Finding also under the liquor store provisions for special exception. Proximity to public spaces. The property is not within 1,000 feet of a public park or recreation. This also they do not comply with. The property is situated less than 64 feet from a public park recreational area and less than 264 feet from a school facility building. Curtis Baptist School Recreation. And then there's a library in the general vicinity too. So these are actually regulations that are on the books, and these are the requirements for a special exception for for a liquor store, and they do not meet them.
All right, Director Lane, I think that you summed it up. I think had I seen that, what you just finished reading off that you got from legal here, I wouldn't be asking any of these questions. But I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Attorney Brown, I saw that you noted. Are you good, sir? You good? All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the first. Commissioner George Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to deny.
All right. There's a motion to deny from the Commissioner from the first and a second from the Commissioner from the ninth. There's a few. We will get to it. All right. All right.
Mr. Mayor, let me. I want to make a motion to concur with the Augusta Planning Commission to deny this petition. Just want to make sure that was clear.
All right. The Commissioner from the first has restated his motion to concur with the Planning and Development Department. And we have a second. All right. Commissioner from the eighth, Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. This question is actually for Director Delaney. In reference to what you just read, basically what I think I'm hearing, and I think some of us up here are as well, should this place have never received an alcohol license?
No, because as you can tell by the date, it predates the ordinance typically. So we can't go back and retroactively take this. This gas station, I think, was established in 1973. A lot of these regulations have been updated over the last 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the third, Commissioner McKnight.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me ask you this, and this was brought up earlier, but when you have parties, and I've been to a function or two at Julian Smith Casino where there's liquor being served and it's across from the church. They sell beer and wine now, right, at this convenience store, correct?
They do sell.
Okay, so we're just wanting to add liquor. Okay, well, it seems like we support a lot of the others on here for liquor stores, so I'm on the opposite.
All right, you got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, there's a motion to deny this based on a recommendation of Planning and Zoning and Development. Attorney Brown?
I believe properly stated, there will be a motion to approve the recommendation as listed in the agenda item.
All right, to approve the recommendation, which is to deny.
Which is to deny, sir.
Which is to deny. All right. All right. So, colleagues, we have a motion and a second. Let's vote. That's a yes. Yes to deny. All right.
That motion carries 9-1 with Ms. McKnight voting no.
Sir, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you as well.
Right, yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Madam Clerk?
Okay.
Let's continue.
That takes us to our regular agenda. Item number 43 is a motion to approve the collaboration between Augusta, Georgia and the City of Savannah and the Chatham-Savannah Authority for the Homeless to launch a public awareness campaign, Give Change That Count, and to authorize the mayor to execute all appropriate documents.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Sean Franham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity, there was a discussion of the $25,000 being spent to promote this campaign. For clarity, this will all be spent internally within the government, and that's how it'll be spent. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Motion to approve.
All right, Madam Clerk, there's a motion and a second from the Commissioner from the 9th. Seeing no colleagues in the queue, let's vote.
Mr. Bobby Williams? He's out. He's out. Okay. That motion carries unanimously with Mr. Bobby Williams out.
All right, Madam Clerk, last item on our agenda, please.
Item 44, Administrator's proposed fiscal year 2024 budget presentation.
Yeah. All right, Madam Administrator, whenever you're ready.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
In front of you, you should have a printed copy of the slideshow presentation I will go over today, as well as a yellow binder, which contains your fiscal year 2024 budget documents. Mayor Johnson and Augusta Commissioners, it is with great pleasure that I, your interim administrator, present to you the administrator's recommended fiscal year 2024 operated budget focused on reimagining Augusta. This recommended budget represents a responsible spending plan for the upcoming fiscal year with a laser eye focused on future needs. Significant work has gone into ensuring that this budget is fiscally sound, supports our workforce, ensures the provision of high-quality government services that meets the needs of our growing community, and advances the Augusta Commission's budget priorities as established during our budget retreat in June, which includes homelessness, human resources, infrastructure, public safety, and quality of life. I would like to highlight key revenue and expenditures for the purpose of this budget presentation. The first is we are able to benefit from a 2% growth in our digest, as well as a 3% growth in our sales tax from an increase standpoint. Fiscal year 23, we were able to receive, just as of last week, about 8% of an increase as it relates to our insurance tax premiums. This sets the groundwork for future FY24 revenue projections. Now, as it relates to expenditures, you'll note that we are set to spend $2.2 million as far as our first debt service coverage payment in relation to our train performance contract. Although construction on our multi-million-dollar performance contract isn't slated to be complete until the summer of 2024, this debt payment is due. Rebates and energy savings are expected to help mitigate this cost, but in the wake of rising energy rate increases, hence we will have to cover some of that cost. Elections continue to cost, and we are budgeting about $1.6 million for upcoming election expenses, as well as already previously discussed increases to our public safety, as well as cost of living adjustments in support of our human capital, which is our employee base. While we did realize a slight increase to our general fund, key areas of change are noted within the special revenue funds, which largely include changes in our grants as well as ARP, which is understood because ARP is coming to a close quickly. Augusta Utilities was recently approved to issue bonds of approximately $90 million to fund upcoming capital projects, and plans to pay off our URA bond for the cyber parking deck for FY24 as approved by voters in SPLOST 8. Overall, our budget increased by a little more than 5%.
I'm excited to discuss some new programs that are not new to the commission because we've discussed them in the past, but I do want to point out that yes, the Administrator's Office Give Change That Counts campaign required no additional funding in the FY24 budget as existing dollars are presented. The Finance Department, we are estimating $300,000 to expand our internal audit services. As you know, the commission approved this item to go out for procurement, and while this item is still in the procurement stages, we have not received exactly how much this project will cost. Based upon market trends, it may very well be more than the $300,000 that we have budgeted here. However, if any changes are needed and whatever the commission decision is to move forward, that's where those funds are already allocated. We will continue enhancements to our cybersecurity, as well as we've talked numerous times about the Planning and Development Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance and their need for electronic plan review software. The Marshal's Office program litter expansion includes 2 new employees with a salary increase or with a salary of about $98,000. The American Rescue Plan, as it notes, I'm proposing several changes. The first, we've talked several times about employees who are currently receiving supplements to their salary. In an effort to alleviate some of those supplement dollars, this budget proposes to remove supplements from full-time employees, not including the Augusta Fire Department. By doing so, this will effectively increase the amount of your unallocated balance with ARP from a little more than $400,000 today to, if approved, about $1.5 million. Also, funds were not requested in FY24 for the demolition program. As a result, $750,000 was allocated from ARP for FY23, and $425,000 is proposed out of ARP for FY24. Remaining balances from fiscal year 23 will roll over into 24, hence the reason why only about $425,000 was allocated. Please note, identification of a sustainable funding source to continue the demolition program is needed for outlying years, as ARP dollars will be gone at the end of 24. This budget did not come to us without any challenges, despite the fact that you are presented a balanced budget today. I do want to highlight within our landfill and garbage collections the needs for funds 541 and 542. Their operational needs continue to outweigh their revenues, which unfortunately creates a shortfall. There's also needed capital to ensure that capital needs are not continued to be deferred, as well as I've previously stated, future funding for the demolition program for outlying years with a sustainable funding source is needed. We've also talked previously about the Augusta Fire Department and their capital needs. Based upon the insurance premiums that we have received, we are able to cover about $2.6 million of their capital needs within our fire protection fund. And this is in FY24. I've had conversations with Chief Bird, and he is in agreement with this plan, as it will allow him to meet his capital needs for FY24. Concerning our streetlight deficit, on February the 22nd of 2022, the Commission received as information a presentation detailing the need for an increased streetlight fee structure with proposed rate increases. As adopted, $6 million from ARP, with $1.5 million scheduled to address projected deficits in 2021 and 2022 was also allocated. It is key to note that operational deficits from 2021 through 23 have been funded by the American Rescue Plan. As such, as proposed in our FY24 budget, about $1.2 million of ARP for funding for planned expansion is being proposed to balance the streetlight fund. If the fee structure is revised prior to the 2024 tax bill process, some or all of that amount can be reallocated back to our expansion plans. As it relates to health insurance, while health insurance is not a topic of conversation for today, or at least not planned by me, there have not been any changes to the employees' premiums in our FY24 budget, although it is imperative that we discuss the restructuring of our health insurance plans, as this has not been done in the past 6 years. Here is a slide showing you how much funding is remaining concerning streetlights. The adjusted balance available for expansion as shown here is a little less than $800,000. As today is October 17th, October 26th is a proposed commission work session, if needed. That will, of course, be directed by this body if you would like for us to move forward with such. But outside of that, our November 15th commission meeting, our November 21st meeting is slated as the adoption of the FY24 budget. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the first, Commissioner Jordan Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple questions. The first question is, Ms. Dowse, you mentioned that there were no funds budgeted or no funds requested during this budget for the demo program. Is there a reason why that wasn't? We didn't have any money budgeted for that program?
There has been some concern surrounding if the demolition program is properly placed within the Environmental Services Department. After review, I do consider that being the best place for it. As you know, it has been there, and Environmental Services has continued to manage demolition services, hence the reason why those funds were allocated or proposed to be allocated out of ARP.
So what I understand is that from that statement, help me if I'm misunderstanding, basically the money wasn't requested because there wasn't really a clear understanding of who should be doing the work?
That's correct.
Okay. And so being that you've made that recommendation, or you've determined, or your department has determined that it should remain where it is there a plan for funding any type of blight demolition? Because we've been moving on a good pace. I would hate to kind of stop that in 24.
That's correct. I have determined that Environmental Services is best suited to handle or continue handling our demolition services. And of the $425,000, any 2023 dollars that are remaining at the end of this fiscal year will be rolled over to support those needs as well.
So 24, we would have 734, basically in 24.
No, sir. In 24, we will have $425,000 plus any remaining balance that was not spent in 2023.
Okay, which is still not enough. Can I ask Dr. Malik a question before we get back to the administrator, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, you may. I think Dr. Malik normally sits outside. There he is.
There he
All
is.
right.
I'm looking
He's in
at
the
him.
house.
Good afternoon, Dr. Malik.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Just have a quick question for you. How many blighted properties were we able to demolish this year?
So it's roughly somewhere in the neighborhood of, on average, I would say 70 to 80. I would say probably 75. It's around $7,000 per, on average, per structure.
So 70 to 80. Okay, and how many more do we have to go? Like, I know we have a backlog. Do you have an idea of the backlog that we're trying to work our way through?
I don't have an exact number, but I know it's over 100, maybe 120 or something.
120 remaining, basically.
Yes, yeah.
Do you have a number that would be needed to clear this program up? Because my big concern is that we talk about blight every year, and some of the same houses that we've been trying to get torn down for decades are still up. And I know there's a, it's a process that we go through, but if there's a funding need, what is the need that you have for funding the program fully so that we can get the ball rolling on demoing more properties? Because out of the 700,000 that we gave, we only have 300,000 left. So from what I understand, most of that is going to just roll over to 2024.
Yes, sir. So we're probably going to roughly have around 700,000 with this addition to go into next, which will not be enough to do what we have on the list, but we also add as we go too. So
you said we're going to have 7 going
I don't have an exact
into?
number right now, other than average $7,000 per structure.
Okay, you said that we're going to have 700 going into 24.
Yeah, I think the information about 3 weeks back, we have around, I think, 300,000 left there. We have 20 structures to go. Start of the year is going through the bid process right now.
Okay, I'm just trying to get clarity because you just said 700, and I asked that question, was said no, it wasn't going to be 700.
So if we add this 450.
That's what I asked, and I was told.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just confused for no reason. Thank you, Dr. Malik.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner number 7, Commissioner Fran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we can, I got a few questions here. Can we go back to the new programs and can you explain the internal audit services, 300,000? It seems pretty high. I just want to get some clarity around that one.
Sure. So based upon industry research, $300,000 was estimated to be the cost of our internal audit services, or the expansion of our internal audit services as approved by this body. Because this procurement is still under procurement, we don't have the details as to how much it will actually cost. If it's more or less, then the body would have to make some decisions on how you would like to proceed with this task.
Okay. All right. My next question is, under budget challenges, you mentioned garbage collection, landfill. Did we increase the haulers rate, or did we not increase it? No, I'm not talking about the constituents. I'm talking about when they go to the landfill. Did we increase it or not?
So if I understand, that is the one that's still under procurement. Is that correct, Dr. Malik? If you would, Commissioner, allow Dr. Malik to speak to those specifics.
I just want an answer just to, because I mean, this might not be as big of a, I guess, funding shortfall if the.
All right, Dr. Malik.
Yes, sir. So this body did approve the rate increase, $5.
I'm talking about haulers. I'm not talking about the constituents that you went up. That's all that went up was $5?
Yeah, non-contractor waste. Yes, it was.
And that's the first
roughly
increase we've had?
$5 per ton, yes. But, this overall program need to be revisited and look at that, how it's structured and how the funds are distributed and collected. But yes, $5 added, that will increase the revenue around, I would say 1.5 to 2 million, depending on the intake. So we're working through it. But there are other reasons why this program is the way it is.
But that, I mean, you basically stated that there might not be as much of a shortfall as we're projecting here if we get this approved and get everything going, right?
The way it's structured, that $5 is not enough to support the overall, the way it's budgeted. It will support the operation, but there are.
No, I think he understands it. The hauler's rate is not the constituent rate. The constituent rate went up 10. Okay, I guess I would just ask that we get a little bit of clarity on that because, I mean, it kind of sounds like we're not in as big a hole once we get the rates, and I think this body needs to understand, because I guess it's under your purview to do this based on previous history and doesn't have to come before this commission, but we need to understand, number one, when's the last time we raised the hauler's rate? Number two, are we raising it enough? And maybe, this body support it, or give you some guidance, let's just say, because obviously it's under your privy. But what is your timeline on having that all to us, or having that approved, I guess?
So we presented overall analysis of the rate increase. The current market, if we increase more than $5, we may lose the non-contracted wage. They may go somewhere else. So we have to, the rate should be such a way.
But, okay, let's revisit that, and that was just my concern, just hearing that, because I thought that we didn't really clarify that, so I'll move on. My next question around the streetlight deficit. You said the $1.1 million to cover the deficit. Where is that coming out of?
ARP.
ARP. And then the other question around that is that, do you foresee that before the 2025 budget discussion that we're going to get this streetlight thing fixed? Because we continue to, and there used to be a line item for streetlights, and then we took it out in 2016, 17, and that's why I created this deficit. And so now, because we, I guess, didn't want to pay for ourselves or whatever the departments are, but that's really what happened here. So hopefully we'll have that discussion and get that covered, because it's long overdue. The next question you didn't want to talk about, but I got to ask it, the health insurance. When is the last time that the employees had a health insurance increase?
The first question that you asked about streetlights, will we make a plan? Yes, a plan will be presented to this body with a recommendation from the administrator. The second question surrounding health insurance is 6 years.
So 6 years, and I mean, it is what it is. Every company's gone up, and we have not increased health insurance in 6 years.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And so that's definitely a discussion that needs to happen, because we should have never let that happen. Sorry, but that's just the facts. And I think I'll yield for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. From the 7th, Chair recognizes Commissioner Garrett from the 8th.
Thank you, and I'm going to continue kind of where Commissioner Franham left off. I noticed that the health insurance budget challenge was the only one that you did not have really any numbers behind in regards to where we currently stand. So I know earlier in your presentation you said that health insurance costs went up. How much percentage did they go up this year? Do we have that?
No, sir. I think you may be speaking of me saying that your insurance premium tax went up. We received more.
Okay.
And so I specifically did not have any additional details surrounding health insurance, as I was not planning for it to be a topic today. But I did want this body to recognize that it did not have any impact on our FY24 budget, but FY25. I am strongly suggesting a conversation surrounding.
But I think what you're hearing up here is we all recognize that 6 years without an increase is kind of unheard of. You know, in the public sector, those costs are generally passed on to the employee, and I think that that's definitely something that we need to look at as we're planning for this budget as well as the 25 budget. But so that's why I was curious, what was the percentage increase this year that we experienced? Do we have those?
No, I do not have that information available for you now. And also, open enrollment is slated within the next couple of weeks, so we will not have enough time this year to be able to make any changes that will affect our FY24 as far as insurance is concerned.
And in regards to the streetlights, I know there's currently an RFP out trying to find somebody to help us with our streetlights. What is the timeline on that RFP? Do we have that yet?
Do you know when it opens?
Dr. Malik's going to get his steps in today.
He can speak to the details of that RFP as to when it opens.
Well, and before he speaks towards that, you know, I think that one of those underlying questions out there is hopefully we're going to have that back in the next few weeks, and that way we can help better plan our rate structure around that instead of trying to do a rate structure and then try to add this in. So I'm hoping that these things correlate together. And Dr. Malik, do we have a timeline?
Yes, so RFP is the RFQ going to go to procurement, so it's probably going to be later part of December, but there won't be any commission meetings. So.
We're well known for our special called meetings.
Okay,
so I mean,
yeah. So I'll
or maybe we can have another workshop. I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
we'll bring the recommendation back in later part of December.
Excuse my sarcasm. But really, in regards to that, and hopefully we get that sooner than later, but
Yes.
I think that definitely needs to be part of the planning tool for any type of rate discussion, because otherwise, we're just going to go back to not getting anywhere. So the other question that I had, Madam Administrator, was on your second slide, I believe, your year over year. I see where your riverfront activity, law enforcement presence is, that budget is decreasing from 126 to down to right at 85. Where are you saying that we're going to have less law enforcement presence on the riverfront?
No, sir. So that entire section, that top section right above where it reads total general fund in bold, includes our general fund and law enforcement. So I wanted to make sure that you know all of those are together. And riverfront activities, the IT radio system, and traffic mitigation are just subline items underneath our general fund. And it's just highlighted and accounted for that purpose. For riverfront activities, the boathouse, the maintenance there, we've moved some of those dollars over to Central Services handles the maintenance there. IT radio system, and then traffic mitigation is part of, I want to say a deal, is that not a?
Traffic mitigation is, and IT radio system is the towers and the rates that are, that we set up several years ago when we provided our own radio services.
Right, and we already knew what those budget items were going to look like moving forward when those new systems were implemented.
That's right.
So what is the decrease in the riverfront activities other than the boathouse?
It was budgeted last year with use of some available fund balance. We've just decreased the expenditures and moved some of the expenditures to Central Services this year.
What about
that's just a $40,000 difference.
And what about the current projects that are taking place on Riverwalk that
Riverwalk is not included in that. That is basically the marina.
Okay.
Yeah. Riverwalk is included in the general fund.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th. Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the interim administrator. Ms. Dowse, as far as what you spoke about, as far as the compression salaries within the fire department, the sheriff's department, that was used with ARP money, where it was not they did not give out a flat percentage throughout all the employees. Only certain employees received a raise, which caused the compression issue. Now we have sergeants making 51 cents less an hour than your lieutenant, and your lieutenant is a 7-year employee that we invested in them, and they invested into us. Now, you discussed about fixing some of this compression issues, do half of it this year, half of it next year, or so on. But I would like to figure out a way that we solve this problem once and for all, so we don't have to keep going back to the well to get more money. So as far as the monetary issues, we got the radio equipment, fire pumps, special op, light vehicles, and the auto locator. How come we cannot use that, get that money from SPLOSH?
Because the Augusta Fire Department was not included in the SPLOST 8 plan. And as you spoke concerning, you stated compression issues, what I spoke to in regards to ARP was the supplement that employees received that would make them make a effective at minimum $15 an hour. But in speaking with Chief Burden just as of yesterday, he is working with a plan. He is working with Human Resources concerning a plan regarding the salaries within the Augusta Fire Department.
Right. It sure would have been nice prior to money being given out to a select few that this issue would have been handled 2 years ago or 3 years ago prior to you taking this position, because it's actually costing the end user, which is the taxpayer, a lot more money to get everybody in sync. Is there any money from SPLOSH 6 or 7 that's left over that we could set or buy the fire trucks equipment that they requested?
I don't think it is. Is it, Don? I don't think it is. I think he's spent missing $7,
I'm pretty sure all allocations in SPLOST 6 and 7, which were available for the fire department, those funds have been spent. There are very particular rules about SPLOST projects which were not originally included in the SPLOST referendum, and basically you try to get down to when that SPLOST phase starts to close out. In kind of short terms, you're required to fund your projects that were named first before you recapture, reallocate to projects that were not included in the original SPLOST phase. But we are continually monitoring the amount that is in those phases and the expenditures. And as you know, there are some of those projects that are quite old that have a tendency to experience overages as the cost of doing those projects.
Donna, as far as this,
impacts them.
right, as far as this capital equipment that the fire department is requesting, is $4.5 million. Is there any way that we could do a bond on this and then apply it to the next SPLOST to recover the funding?
Commissioner
And that
Bonds.
way it saves the $4.5 million being taken out of our account?
Well, Commissioner, that would not be my recommendation. As stated,
Okay.
I have spoken with the fire chief and developed a plan which meet his FY24 capital needs. So a bond would not be needed, nor would one be my recommendation at this point.
Okay, so as far as, let me get back to the compression issues within the fire department. Hence, that the sheriff's department's asking for $1.9 million, which you and him, the sheriff rehearsed and come up from 5 down to $1.9 million. The sheriff was here before us, and he was actually stating that the $1.9 million is not going to be to hire, which is the biggest issue of hiring new employees. That money would not be allocated for that, but be allocated for existing deputies and investigators that's certified. Now, naturally, all the sheriff's department and all the investigators not certified, so would that cause a compression issue within that department? I'd rather look at it now than after the fact going, dang on, we should have took 2 steps back to realize that it's causing compression issues.
So I want to clear up a statement that you made regarding it would not go towards hiring. Yes, those dollars that are being allocated will also benefit the recruiting ability of new officers. It will increase the starting wage from $43,500 and some change to about $50,000, or in some cases a little more than $50,000. When I first presented a plan to the sheriff, he came back with the concern that if he only increased his road patrol officers to X wage, it would in fact allow Augusta to suffer from some compression issues with his investigators. Hence, the reason why the investigators have been included in this salary increase package, and the salary need has risen to $1.9 million.
Right, Ms. Dowse, when I asked the sheriff when he was before us a week and a half ago, what was his concern? You know, I said, this $1.9 million is going to be for certified. I said, but your whole challenge was hiring new deputies. Does this resolve your issue? He said, no. I said, so you're going to be coming back before us later? Yes, sir. And so that was his words, not mine.
So in speaking with the sheriff, as well as what has been documented, his wages, his starting salary for his road patrol will be able to be increased from $43,500 and some change to at a minimum of $50,000.
Okay, so he will not be coming back before us asking for any more money.
That is not my statement, sir. I would also like to note, included in this FY budget, in this FY24 budget, is a 3% cost of living adjustment for employees outside of those employees that are directly affected with this financial package, which includes the sheriff's office, the marshal's office, and RCCI. But the 3% increase should assist or will assist with some of those compression issues as outlined.
Thank you, Ms. Dowse.
Thank you, Commissioner Guilfoyle. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 2nd, Commissioner Pulliam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Dowds, I wanted to clarify that the total amount we started with for demolitions was $734,965. Is that correct? Was that the budget or what was given out of ARP? Where it says revised obligations, I just want that explained.
$750,000 was allocated out of ARP for FY23 for demolition services.
Okay, and out of that 750,000, 309,965 was actually used as of
that print date.
Okay, all right. Dr. Malik, I have a couple of questions.
Commissioner, the amount that you just stated, the $390-some-odd-thousand, that is the balance that is left in the account.
That's what's left now?
That is what is left.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Dr. Malik?
Dr. Malik, earlier you stated that 75 blighted properties had been taken down. That was out of the $750,000?
Yeah, yes, ma'am, that's kind of rough number, but yes, our department projected, estimated around $500,000 be used this year. So that will leave us $250, and then whatever the allocation would be for the next year, I think it's $450 proposed. Yeah.
Okay.
So 425 is what's proposed.
Okay. Yeah.
You said 325?
$425,000 is what is proposed for next year.
Okay.
Not including his rollover balance from FY23.
Okay. Give me 1 second because I moved those numbers around. But you're saying that it's going to take more than that 425 to get rid of the last 120 properties that are blighted?
Yeah, so on average it's around $7,000. So, and again, 120 is kind of rough number. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Sean Frannell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 2 comments. I believe that we need to have the workshop because I think I have a lot of questions about what we have here. So I make a motion that we have a workshop.
I will second that.
And number 2, anything, there's a lot of big numbers here, and I lost the one that I was looking for. There's a lot of big numbers here where we saw an increase of, I'm going to say, 100,000 or more. That's what that number I'll go with. And I believe that when we have this workshop, we need understanding and justification on why we did some of what we did. If this body voted for it, then explain that why this body voted for it. The couple that come to mind, and again, this is a frustration piece. This is my 9th budget dealing with. Is like we sit here and we say the actuals as of October 16th. And the finance department has only spent 1.2 of $2 million, but yet we're going to go to 2.4 next year. So I hear you that they all come in late, but I think that sends the wrong message to the community that looks at this, that you want 2.4 million. I understand 300,000 of that is the audit system, but why are we only at 1.2 and a $2 million budget? Then the other one that just kind of sticks out again is the general recreation shop on page 4. It's under section 4. It went up almost $833,000. I think that some of these deficits that we talk about, if we have good conversations from here, up here, that we can take some of this money and there wouldn't be deficits and we'd be putting more towards the reserves. And I think those are some conversations that we need to have when we have this workshop. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. From Ms. House, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second to do a workshop, but I still got another colleague in the queue. Commissioner Bobby Williams, you're on, sir. You up.
I'm up.
You're up.
Thank you. I just have just a few general questions. One, Mr. Frana may have covered it with the internal audits. You have 300,000. He said, what, 100,000 or more? So does that cover the internal audits that we were talking about? Okay, so when we go to workshop, we will talk about the internal audits for $300,000. I just think that's a little bit too much. I'm not saying we don't need to do them. I'm just saying that $300,000 is a whole lot for internal audits. That's one. Two, I looked at the mayor's budget. His budget went up about $25,000. So
that's a surprise to me.
And Ms. Bonds got cut the same amount.
The mayor, and I'm not saying the mayor doesn't need it, but he doesn't have my brother's keeper and all that other kind of stuff that Hardy Davis had. But so, you could put that on Brigham. Yeah.
You already got a 109,000 increase.
Oh, so you all have looked at Brigham. I'm
looking at everything.
So when we have this workshop, I'll really be looking at some stuff. I'd like to ask Dr. Malik a question, if I may.
All right, Dr. Malik.
He's back there, and I'll ask the administrator the same question, because I wasn't able to find it in here or what have you. What kind of monies do we have going towards paving? We have any monies in the budget for paving or ARP money or SPLOST money?
SPLOST dollars are allocated. Dr. Malik does have SPLOST funding for paving.
Okay, so what do you have in here, Dr. Malik, for paving?
So we, engineering has a SPLOST 8 allocation, and with the recent reallocation approved by the commission, so the money that was allocated at the tail end, like 27, 28, was moved to 23, 24. So again, rough number, top of my head, we should have, I would say, around 8 million. So we're working on the road paving list right now, around that number.
Okay, but in the SPLOST, we had 23, 24 million in the SPLOST, correct? In the last SPLOST 8, we had $24 million, correct?
It was, I believe, 23.
That was approved, 23, 24, 25 million.
Just for engineering?
Just for paving.
Oh, I don't know. What was his total?
I think it was around 23 million.
About 23, 24, yeah, 25 million. So, and you only have 8 million, so the other hasn't been collected, or what?
So, I believe, again, I'm just going by memory, it was 2.5 million allocated first year, and that's where I used it. There was around same number, or 2 or 3 was this year, which already ongoing, but then this new allocation added another roughly 4 million to this year allocation. So that will roll over to the next year, the bid we're working right now. And I believe there is a 4.6 around that number for 2024 in SPLOST 8. From SPLOST 8, then the balance is going to be the 25.
I got
26.
And I know we were, as commissioners, we were supposed to get together and give you a list of streets that we wanted paved. I think we did that, but unless you send us an email or something like that, we don't know what's going on. So is there a way, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, is there a way you can send us a list of your intended streets to be paved, or or what have you.
Yes, sir.
You know, a month out, 2 months out, 6 months out, whatever your intentions are to pave streets or what have you. I get a lot of complaints and people, everybody wants a street paved. They see a street paved, whether they need it or not, they want theirs paved, and they want not the big streets that go through their neighborhood. They want their street paved. You know, you get a pothole and they want the street paved. But anyway.
Commissioner, we'll work with the department and develop a listing and send something out to the commission at least quarterly. I think by that point you'll have enough of a schedule to be able to inform your constituents.
Okay. Okay. And this is just a general question. I know we're giving raises to folks over at the police department. I know the marshal's department is coming at us. I know that RCCI folks are wanting a raise or what have you. I'm just going to ask, I can't even talk this much, specific question about RCCI. We got anything for them?
Yes, sir. RCCI specifics were included in the public safety work session that we had, but their base salaries will be increasing from about $42,000 to I think $48,000.
From 42 to about 48.
I think it didn't go to 48. I think it was about 48. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Across the board, you said you're going to give everybody a 3.3.
No, sir. 3%.
3%.
Yes, sir.
I'm going above with the 3.3. When is that going to take effect?
It's proposed to take effect April 1st.
April 1st and of 2024.
Of 2024, yes.
Okay. And you know, we talked about that $15 situation and showing up as supplement on some folks' checks. And you said you moved to have some of that, you know.
Yes, sir. We have removed this proposed budget will remove the supplement from full-time employees who previously received a supplement, excluding the Augusta Fire Department.
Okay. So, you know, they're going to be complaining, so you're going to get them the next year or what? The fire department folks?
No, keep in mind, nobody's salary, it doesn't affect their salary. It just affects how it's being paid. If it's being paid from ARP, which will be gone December 31st of 2024, or if it is paid out of their fund directly, be it general fund or wherever they're currently funded as far as their salary is concerned. Okay. So this does not affect their salary.
Okay, so I'm a little slow, so just how are you? So it comes out of what with the fire department?
So the fire department's pay structure will not change. The only change is we're taking about the $1 million of ARP that was previously allocated for salaries, for the salary supplement, that will no longer be funded out of ARP.
Okay.
So that in essence has increased your unallocated balance for ARP by a little more than $1 million.
Okay. So the salary is going to come out of a regular
Yes, sir.
fund?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So you brought up another question. So how much do we have in ARP now? About 1.5?
With this proposal, you will have about $1.4 million and some change.
Okay, about 1.4, and the library gave back 1.3. That doesn't count as ARP anymore, but that money's still there, right?
Well, it is. It has
it's there,
been.
But it's not there.
It was received. The library did exactly as their memorandum of understanding stated. It has been received, so their debt, keep in mind it was a debt, so their debt has been cleared.
Yeah, no, I'm saying as far as monies back to the city, we have that to spend in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
No, sir.
Well, okay, but they gave the money back, so where did it go?
That was money that was owed already to us, a debt that had not been paid by the library.
Right.
So it went it went back into the general fund who it was owed. The general fund had been carrying that debt for the library. You gave the library $1.3 million out of ARP. The library used that money to pay the general fund back their debt because the general fund had been paying the salaries for those library personnel over that period of time, and the library was not reimbursing Augusta's general fund for those expenditures.
Okay,
so that debt was paid.
So I need more money for Brigham. That's why I'm asking the question. But anyway.
I hear you. I hear you.
So really what I'm saying is that's not money that we have somewhere that we can spend again.
Must be an election year.
Really?
Yeah, it must be.
Gotcha. It's that too? It's that too? Okay. I'm good, Mr.
You
Mayor.
yield?
Yeah.
Since the commissioner from the 5th noted the mayor's budget, Madam Administrator, can you note the reason for the increase? Because we submitted a budget with no increase request. Was that a result of the 3%?
And then decrease in that's the percent.
The exact amount.
I feel sorry for you, Mayor.
We'll get you the details on
They're gonna
that.
get the
It's a couple of
details.
different things.
All right. Is it salary related or is it a result of the
A
increase?
portion of it, yes, sir.
Okay.
So how was the?
Keep in mind with this 3% increase for cost of living, that also went towards your budget as well.
All right.
Okay.
Not for the mayor, but for
Right.
his employees.
Yeah, for
For
your staff.
employees. All right.
Now, Mayor Johnson, if you don't mind, Commissioner Frantum stated that he wanted some justification behind some of the increase. Could you clarify? Are you looking for justification for, could you clarify what your request is for the next budget session?
I think that the line, it ought to be the department, the amount, and what it's for. I mean, and then we have the discussion if there's some of the colleagues have questions on that. Because one of the things I was about to bring up is we gave money to entities that we've never given money for. And I want to understand the why on that one as well, that I'm not going to mention them publicly right now, but there's reasons that I'm just concerned that we're giving entities money that I'm not so sure that they need the money, as well as I think that there's some gaps that we can fill by having some more discussion up here.
Commissioner Frantum, you mentioned earlier $100,000. Is that the cutoff, or did you want it all?
I'm just one colleague up here, but those are the ones that stick out to me. I mean, and I think, again, some of the colleagues, this is their first budget. Every budget we go through and we get these updated as of numbers. Why is it that we're at 50% of budgets, 45, 60% of budgets when we're into, there's never a justification number. Oh, the numbers come in. Well, some of those numbers don't even happen until January, and then it seems like, for payment. And it's just frustrating that we got the finance part asking for more money, but they're at 1.2 million, and they were at 2 million budget this year. Now they want 2.4 because of the audit thing that up here, I think everybody up here has concerns about, because we're going to need your clarification on that. But I think that's the frustration piece about it.
All right, let's get back in the queue. Commissioner Guilfoyle from the 10th, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This for the interim administrator, Ms. Dowse. Under your 2024 proposed budget, the commission budget priorities, homelessness. Is that you funding, you hiring a position for it, et cetera? Please explain.
Sure. At the beginning of your booklet, there is a administrator's transmittal letter which goes into further detail about some of the items outlined throughout the budget. And under homelessness on page 5, it highlights the Give Change That Counts initiative, which was just approved by this body.
Okay, that's how, okay. The second thing is, when you and I were speaking a few minutes ago, you said something that kind of had me puzzled. You said the 3% COLA is going to resolve the compression issue. Can you please explain that to me?
Sir, I don't recall stating that the 3% cost of living adjustment will resolve the compression issues, but it will help with the compression issues.
How?
And that is in relation to those specific departments, such as the sheriff's office or RCCI or the marshal's office.
Can you, if everybody's getting a 3%,
So everybody's not getting the 3%. So, for instance, within the sheriff's office, the $1.9 million is only going to his road patrol officers and his investigators. So his jailers and his administrative staff, as well as any other officers within the sheriff's office that is not getting a part of the 1.9 salary package, they will then be able to reap the benefits of the 3%, which could then offset any compression issues. It can help with offsetting those compression issues.
And not cause compression issues.
Well, the 3% shouldn't cause it if everybody is moving at the same time.
Or the
Whatever
same
compression issues, for instance, whatever compression issues are existing within the Human Resources Department, they will still exist.
All right, what about
3%
the fire
just is for
department then?
cost of living.
How does it work in the fire department then?
Whatever issues the fire department is currently facing surrounding compression issues, those issues will not be affected by the cost of living adjustment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to piggyback on one of his questions. This actually wasn't what I was in the queue for, but you said that part of the 1.9 is going to road patrol and investigators, and then the COLA will go to jailers. How does the sheriff make that differentiation when you have road patrol that are acting as jailers currently in some circumstances?
So the sheriff came, his original budget request was more than $5 million. That was to address salary issues throughout the entire sheriff's department. We could not afford $5 million. And in exchange, X amount was presented to him and asked of him, will this help? Who can you change? How can you effect change within your department with X amount? He then came back to the table and said that if I only take care of road patrol, it will then cause compression concerning my investigators. We then came to an amount which settled at $1.9 million, and it was his plan, or it is his plan, his suggestion, to utilize $1.9 million to address the salary recruiting issues as well as retention issues within the sheriff's department.
Okay, and can you show, I guess, maybe for the workshop coming up, can you show us in the budget where those numbers are actually plugged in, as that is where that money would be allocated in the sheriff's budget?
You mean as far as the specifics surrounding going to road patrol and to investigators? Yes. It's not. We did not specifically state this is where those dollars.
Can we place caveats on that?
I don't.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll leave that there. And also, just looking through this and looking for a lot of the settlements that we approve here every other week, it seems like, can you also tell us where we can find those numbers for like the amount of settlements that are in the budget as like from previous years and what's budgeted? Or is that just not something that's in this? I'm just curious of how we track that.
So the specifics regarding the settlements is not itemized in this budget. However, there is a line item for law-related needs.
Do you know what that line item is?
I don't, not off the top of my head, no, sir.
Okay, I'll keep looking. All right, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Garrett, last in the queue, Commissioner from the 5th. You back up, sir.
I have one question. Does the 3% cost of living adjustment include the library?
So because the library is a separate funding entity, they handle their own payroll. If they choose to increase their staff, that will be up to the library's board.
Okay, so you're saying the library folks are not employees of Augusta, Georgia?
That is correct. They are state employees.
Okay, so if they get a cost of living adjustment, it would have to be from the state?
It could either be from the state, but it would be from their board. The decisions that Richmond County makes regarding Richmond County employees do not automatically affect the library. The library would have to make that decision separately.
So you're saying the board would have to say, we're going to give them a 3% increase? And the salaries, who pays their salaries? The state or Augusta?
Well, some of their employees of the state
Pays for 3 or 5 positions.
Some of their employees are paid by the state, and Augusta gives the library a apportionment every month. They also use those dollars for salaries as well as operational needs.
Okay. So since we're on the library, and I didn't look through here, what did we do with them to keep them from going into debt?
So one of the things we did, and we proposed this back when we presented their debt package, was to net the amount that their salaries are from the amount that they receive. That's one way to ensure that they won't continue to go into debt. And that was the main way.
Okay, because, did we do anything with their budget? Remember, one of the main reasons why they were going in debt was because it moved from the one building I forgot the square footage, that was maybe 40,000 to one that was 100,000, and we didn't increase the budget at all. So did we increase their budget to help them cover that, or what is going on with that?
No, sir, we did not increase their budget, but because they no longer have a debt payment, then that in essence gives them additional dollars to handle their operations.
So you think that's...
request money for salaries? I know they requested $300,000, but it was IT.
Yeah. So, I'm not getting that portion.
Something else, I don't remember. Okay. Salary increase, I don't think they did.
Ms. Dowes. So, I just got a text message that said the state reimburses 70% of 3 positions. So I guess Augusta pays for it. Mr. Mayor.
Call for the question.
Yes, sir. Come on, Mr. Commissioner from the 5th.
I just received a text that said the state reimburses 70% of 3 positions, so Augusta pays the rest of it.
I think
Pays for the rest of the positions. So those people that Augusta pays for, would they get a 3% cost of living? That's not what they're saying.
I think we probably get clarification during the workshop that gives the interim administrator an opportunity.
We can do that, but my understanding is that, for the most part, that most of these people work for Augusta. So I'll save it for the workshop.
You'll yield for the workshop.
But we'll visit that again, okay?
All right. Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a proper second, and I forget who motioned and second. The motion is for a workshop.
Schedule a work session. Mr. Franham. Mr. Garrett.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mason.
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Ms. McKnight. Ms. Pulliam.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Scott. Mr. Bobby Williams.
Should I see?
That motion carries unanimously to
And
schedule a work session.
October 26th is the proposed date for the work session.
October 26th received. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience today. This meeting is hereby closed out. Thank you, Madam Clerk.